You are watching the most interactive professional wrestling discussion show on the internet. WWE Impact Wrestling.
ROH Wrestling.
Pro wrestling at its finest on In the Hot Seat with your host, Fort Miners Project.
Alright, what's going on, guys, and welcome to this week's episode from the Hot Seat. Of course, as always, I got a great show lined up for you guys, and that's why Fan Interaction episode number 2 is back. I decided to bring it back after what and how successful the first episode was, so I am in here bringing it back for this week. So I probably might bring it back either next month or the month after, depending on how things are going to go with that. But anyway, I am here, joined by my guest at this time, and would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Chronix from the most extreme wrestling, and glad to be back over here on Fort Minor Project Show.
Alright, it's a pleasure to have you here back on the show, and we got a lot of great questions, and I'm going to kick things off with the first question. And do you think, if the rumors are true, that Taker might retire after WrestleMania 28 and instead stay and have a part-time schedule, and how do you feel about that?
Well, he might retire after 28, I don't really know, but honestly, I don't see him coming back as a full-time schedule ever. I don't really see the point, especially if he's broken down and whatnot. If he's going to come back, he could come back at WrestleMania, and I think that that would be fine if he's going to continue on.
Yeah, to me, I'm not really too sure what is going to happen with The Undertaker after WrestleMania 28, so I'm actually going to wait this one out to see how exactly The Undertaker is going to do, since he just recently came back. So I want to see how he's going to do leading up, going into WrestleMania, and then maybe around after WrestleMania with his match with possible rumors with Undertaker and Triple H Part 3 happening. So, I'm just going to wait it out first before I can say anything else about that. So thank you for your question with that. Going into the next set of questions here, and in your opinion, why is Chris Jericho the best wrestler in the world?
Best wrestler in the world? Well, I guess that's because he says he is, and he's the first undisputed champion.
Yeah.
He's accomplished, so much in the business. It's actually incredible the amount of things that Chris Jericho accomplished, especially for his size, even in early 2000 and everything. But he's definitely, future Hall of Famer. Yeah.
And to me, just to make it short and simple with that, definitely he's a good talker and everything, and is really good at what he does. And he has done a lot, like you mentioned, in his career, so he can make anyone just look as good when he's wrestling with somebody. So definitely one of my favorites, for sure, to say the least, just to put it short and simple to the point with that. Next question I got here, and will we ever see Jeff Hardy in the WWE again, and how do you feel about that?
Well, he's been in WWE since, 1999? I mean, obviously his long-term career isn't going to be around for very much longer, being full-time and everything. I would expect to see Jeff Hardy in the Hall of Fame. I wouldn't, like years from now, like 5 years maybe even. I just don't really see him coming back full-time or anytime soon, honestly. He's doing his TNA thing. He's doing pretty well in there, and he's really popular over there. And I just can't exactly see him being full-time back in WWE anytime soon, really.
Yeah, my answer is pretty much the same. He's doing really good in TNA and actually having the fans get behind him again and looking to be a world champion soon. So I don't see him exactly coming back this year. Maybe whenever he decides to actually come back, we'll have to wait and see with that. So I wouldn't mind another run with Jeff Hardy in the WWE, and just to see how that's going to go. I have his last one there. So that's it when it comes to me on that part. The last question here, and I actually enjoyed this one. Will we ever see Christian as World Heavyweight Champion again, and how do you feel about that?
Well, I hope so, and, they didn't really give him, like, a great title run before, but the thing about Christian is, I always think, you could bring him back, and since he's been around for a long time, like Jeff Hardy was, you could bring him back as, like, a ring general. Like, this is a smaller guy, yes, but by today's standards, he's kind of average. But, he's a smaller guy. He's a ring general. He knows everything about the business. He knows every square inch of the ring. He's been Intercontinental Champion, one of the greatest tag team champions. The guy knows everything about everything, and, he could really school somebody in the ring. And, I think they could bring him in a role like that, bring him, even against Daniel Bryan, and, show Daniel Bryan may be a great wrestler and all, but, Christian knows all the tricks, so I don't see why they couldn't put the belt on him.
Yeah, I was hoping he would actually come back at the Royal Rumble, but that didn't happen. I guess they're actually saving his return and doing something different with him. So maybe he might come back as a face going into WrestleMania. So hopefully we will get to see him before then, and then actually be a part of WrestleMania, have a match there, and hopefully in time, sometime in 2012, have a at least better run with the last two runs. Even though I did enjoy them, and with the first championship reign, that still is a memorable moment, even though it didn't last that long. So hopefully Christian soon enough will be three-time World Heavyweight Champion and see better things once he comes back from his injury. So I am looking forward for the return of Christian, definitely. So thank you for that question. Now getting into the next set of questions, and again going back to the Undertaker here, if you will. If Triple H does not face Undertaker at WrestleMania 28, and who, in your opinion, who should the Undertaker face at WrestleMania?
Well, there's a lot of possibilities, but not a lot of possibilities that I think that you could pull off this year the way that they've been building them. You know, like Del Rio, Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, Chris Jericho, even Mark Henry and Kane. But the only person that I could say, well, I guess right now you could throw him in there is Dolph Ziggler.
Okay.
Which I don't know if that would be a big money match or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Dolph Ziggler just because Dolph Ziggler said that, you know, I was always right on his first debut show. But
Yeah.
I think Dolph Ziggler and the way he shows off and the good of, you know, as good of a wrestler and how fast paced he is compared to how Undertaker's much slower paced, you know, and everything. And if I could throw in one more thing, what's something that I think would be extremely funny for Dolph Ziggler try to do at WrestleMania is try to do some sort of gauntlet match where he's going to have 20 victories over other wrestlers and try to beat Undertaker's streak in one night. I know that'd be a little bit hokey, but the idea of that just makes me laugh.
Yeah, I actually never thought about that. I think that would be a really good match between the two. So, to me, if it can be anyone, at least maybe someone new or maybe Chris Jericho, I think that would be cool, and to have that happen at WrestleMania, to have a good match there. So, anyone new or Chris Jericho or even Dolph Ziggler, like you mentioned, I think that would be a good match too for The Undertaker to have a match against at WrestleMania. So, I think that's cool when it comes to that. Next question here, and do you think Evan Bourne should still be in the WWE?
Well, me personally, no. I mean, he broke the rules twice, and you know, it doesn't really matter how you feel about the rules. The rules are the rules, and you got to play by them. Obviously, he's got one more chance, and you know, I mean, I guess they should give it to him because that's the way it is. But if he breaks that, I mean, this guy's just got to go. You just can't have guys breaking the rules, especially in the heated climate they have at WWE, especially with drugs and everything. They got to have a clean slate.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a damn shame that it had to happen like that. If the guy's really unhappy, he should have just asked for his release and just went on to a different company and went to the Indies or something like that. Or at least have WWE find something new to do with him. And I think he had a good thing going for him. He was with Air Boom and he had the Tag Team Championships. So I thought things were going pretty well, but obviously he looks to be like not happy or anything. So, you know, we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen with that. He just recently came back, and then now he's got another strike. So if he gets another one, then he's gone in history. So we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen with Evan Bourne. So if anything, he should ask for his release if he's not truly happy. At least that's how I see it anyway, in my personal opinion. Getting into the next thing and next question. Besides Mickey James, who would you like to see drafted from TNA, or who would you like to see in general get drafted to TNA from the WWE?
Drafted from TNA to WWE?
Yeah.
I would like to see a sober Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle has been one of my favorite wrestlers, probably my favorite wrestler while he was in WWE for many, 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 many years.
Yeah.
And he seems to have had kind of bad streak in TNA recently. I don't really know how he is right now. I think he's like doing a lot better, but I would like to see Kurt Angle come in and have a very short, you know, run, put somebody over and go into the Hall of Fame, and I would be totally good with that.
Yeah, that's a good choice there. To me, I have a couple of guys. Anyone, it could be from AJ Styles to Samoa Joe, or even Austin Aries for that matter, to come over to WWE, and I think they would do some really great matches with some of the guys in the company. So I think that would be really tremendous to see at least some of those guys, just to name a few as of right now, to go over to the WWE at this point. So I think that would be really cool. Alright, going into the next set of questions here, and again, with Triple H and Undertaker Part 3 happening, do you see the game saying he's basically almost killed the Undertaker at WrestleMania 27, and that he can prove that he can go with the Undertaker to go 20-0 and not 19-1?
Well, I think that's exactly where they're going with this feud, because they left it kind of open at the end of WrestleMania last time, which I don't really like it, but that just seems to be the plan from last year, so that looks like that's exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah, and I'm going to have to agree with you on that one too. I'm sure the match is going to be just as good, so I'm not too sure if they're going to have a stipulation. I've been hearing they're going to have probably a special guest referee match with Shawn Michaels getting in, so you know, anything can really happen at this point, so I think the storyline going into their third match would be something to look forward for. So I do see something like that from Triple H, and in a way kind of having a little heelish type of turn with that going into their third match. So I do somewhat see that happening for sure. Next question that I got here, with Sheamus winning the Royal Rumble, who do you think he will face? Will it be the World Heavyweight Champion or the WWE Champion?
World Heavyweight Champion. I think CM Punk is tied up with Chris Jericho.
Yeah. Yeah, and it looks like Sheamus might actually go with Daniel Bryan in this one, since they didn't really get their match last year at WrestleMania 27. That was actually taken off, which was pretty disappointing. So it looks like we're going to actually have that match finally happen this year at WrestleMania 28, which should be a good match too. So I will be looking forward for that. And unless they will kind of, in a way, swerve us with that, I don't know how they would do that, but I think that would be pretty interesting there, and have Sheamus decide to go with CM Punk. So, but as of right now, it looks like CM Punk is going to be busy with Chris Jericho, so I'm still going to be looking forward for that nonetheless. So that's it when it comes to that. And actually continuing on with Chris Jericho attacking CM Punk this week, what do you see happening going into this feud, and how do you think they will basically build that up?
Well, I expect Chris Jericho to go from being silent to cutting promos, and we know Chris Jericho can cut some amazing promos like he did with The Rock in 2000 and 2001, so I expect with the caliber of being on the mic, you know, of Chris Jericho and CM Punk, for them to have some, you know, amazing back and forth, and going into the match, it should be absolutely intense. It should be amazing, really.
Yeah. And I just see both of these two trying to prove who is the best wrestler in the world. I'm sure we might see Daniel Bryan for a while go into that picture, going into the feud and everything. And I see nothing but great things going into this feud. So I'm really looking forward for it, and I will be tuning in to see what's going to happen next. So that's going to be it on my part. Next set of questions we got here, and first one is, what is your favorite Undertaker gimmick in your opinion?
Ministry of Darkness, although the big evil thing's got to be a close number 2 with the demanding respect and this is my yard and everything.
Yeah, to me, of course, it always has been the American Badass version of The Undertaker. I thought he was going to actually come back as that since we got Mass King, but that didn't happen. So either way, I am happy that The Undertaker is finally back, and looking forward, of course, to see there what's going to happen, what The Undertaker is going to do, especially with Triple H and all that good stuff. So with my gimmick, definitely it's going to have to be the American Badass version. Next question, this is going into the Elimination Chamber, and of course, what is your favorite Elimination Chamber matchup?
Well, I'm not a huge fan of Elimination Chamber, but I guess I'd have to say, I guess it was the 2002 one, whatever the first one was, where Shawn Michaels won.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I'll have to agree with you on that one, and probably maybe 2010, there has been more great Elimination Chamber matches for me, so 2002, 2010, around there, I think have to be my favorite too. But if I had to pick one, definitely gonna have to go with yours too as well, with Shawn Michaels winning that one, and with going back into Madison Square Garden. So definitely one of my favorite Elimination Chambers as well. Next question we got here. with that is, I believe, what would you choose in TNA and WWE? Basically, excuse me, what would you change in TNA and WWE?
Well, for WWE, I would I would really tell them to have long-term storylines, because they always seem to just throw things together, like the Kevin Nash thing. I text myself and whatnot, and that just irritates me. And they build stuff up like the Miz and R-Truth, and I know that's a different situation, but they built him up so big, had him in the Hell in the Cell with all the weapons and had the cops and everything, and then they just squashed the entire angle. So that's just irritating as a fan to get involved in something and then them just take it away and it means nothing. For TNA, I would say I would like to go back in time and tell them, don't go to four sides and don't try to go against WWE on Monday night and copy them and be like them and try to do all that stuff, because that's just irritating, because it's like they came out and said, we're different, we're TNA, we're about wrestling and not talking, and then they proceed to just kind of do the same thing as WWE. And I know that they've done a lot of great things, and I'm not trying to bash TNA, but that's just one complaint I have, for them to claim one thing but then go back against what they're about and everything, and that's just kind of irritating for me for TNA. But WWE, of course, like I said, WWE irritates me just as much with their storylines that go nowhere.
Yeah, and going into TNA with me, with a few things, with their pay-per-view matches, especially with the main events, I would change that to have the main event matches last a little more longer, since as of late, they really haven't been lasting all that long, which kind of pisses me off. So hopefully, things will change with that. So I would like to have at least the pay-per-view main events matches to last at least more longer. Also, going into that with expanding more, since they recently were in London, so keep doing that, keep going to different countries and keep going to different states and expand their fan base. I think that would definitely help them out there. Going into WWE Rise, definitely with this one, fixing the Divas, having their matches last more longer, have more storylines going into with the Divas and everything. So far they're kind of doing okay with that one. I know they're having with Eve being a part of the Kane storyline, which is actually pretty cool in my opinion. So if they can have more storylines and better matches like we have been seeing on pay-per-view, but also on the main shows too as well, I think that would be cool. And also with this, change the pay-per-view schedule, since as of late they really have been changing it a lot, and it's kind of really annoying that they're doing that right now. So to me, they don't know what the hell that they're doing at this point. So definitely I would change the pay-per-view schedule. And less gimmick matches, of course, definitely I would change that as well. To have not so many gimmick matches. Gimmick matches are okay, but just not have them each and every time. So, that's just some of the things that I would change there. And going into the last set here, and what is your favorite pay-per-view of all time, basically, when it comes to that?
My favorite pay-per-view of all time is Royal Rumble 2000.
Alright. With me, of course, as I mentioned before, definitely WrestleMania 18 with The Rock and Hogan. Definitely one of my favorite matches too, of course, so definitely bring that up. And if you want to bring it up as of late, Extreme Rules 2011 with Christian won the World Heavyweight Championship, so I think that was cool as well, and definitely one of my favorite pay-per-views, and seeing Christian becoming World Champion there. Next thing, going into, if you feel like adding on to it, of course, feel free to do so. And who should take a face at WrestleMania 28, if you have any more thoughts going into that?
Now, what was the question?
Who should The Undertaker face at WrestleMania 28, if you feel like you want to add more to that?
Oh, I just don't want him to face Triple H, basically.
Yeah.
I know it'll be a good match, but I mean, obviously we've seen it before, and it's like, how could it be so special, if we've seen it so many times?
Yeah. Yeah, and like I mentioned before, I think either have Chris Jericho or basically have someone new to face The Undertaker going into WrestleMania, so really nothing has changed there. And next question, what are your overall thoughts about Hulk Hogan being in TNA and with his impact there?
I think that his impact actually hasn't impacted very much at all. It's almost like a dimple of an impact. I mean, he came in, I got to tell you, in 2010, like late 2009 and all that, I was not that excited about wrestling. I had kind of been beaten down from 2007, 2008, 2009, not really caring about what was going on. But when they announced that Hulk Hogan was going to TNA and they announced that Bret Hart was going to WWE, it sparked my interest. And I was watching both shows. I was like, what is going on? But, overall, it really didn't accomplish very much to me. It brought some recognition, but I don't think it put very many fans into the arena, and I don't think it really helped their ratings. And, honestly, I think he's kind of a drag right now. And when he's on, it's just like, oh man, this guy's still here. It's like, why can't they just put new young guys in here?
Yeah, and to me, I didn't really care for it in the beginning, especially when he's with Immortal and all that, and just coming out each and every week just got annoying to me. Now that he's the face, once again, and helping with Eric Bischoff's son, I guess things might be a little different, and then maybe we'll see him. I think it would be nice anyway to see him more backstage and not come out as much now that he's a face and everything, and at least have once in a while appearance. I think that would be fine. So I'm just gonna keep it really short and sweet when it comes to that. Next question that I got here, and who do you think, who do you want really to win between The Rock and John Cena at WrestleMania 28?
Well, I want Cena to win because I know that equals cash. If Cena goes over and beats The Rock in his hometown, that just solidifies that, Cena is the big top guy that, is the number one guy in the company. And it doesn't even make any sense for The Rock to win personally, because if The Rock wins, well, it makes everybody in the crowd happy, and then he's gone and he leaves again. So that's just the way I see it happening.
Yeah. And with this, I think that's going to be one of those matches where both of these guys are going to be put over, and we will definitely for sure see a great match between the two. Of course, I will be pulling for The Rock on this one. Maybe have another match at Extreme Rules or something like that, and end the feud there. So
I just hope it's as good as WrestleMania 18 with The Rock and Hulk Hogan. I mean, that was just crazy with the fans going nuts.
Yeah, I think we're going to get that type of atmosphere too, so it's definitely going to be one hell of a night, and I will be looking forward for it. But for me, definitely I am going with The Rock in this one, even though it would be an even out match between the two, I'm sure. So that's it when it comes to that. Also, who is your favorite diva currently at this time in the WWE?
My favorite diva is either Karma or AJ. Favorite knockout is definitely got to be Velvet Sky.
Alright, to me, as of right now, I have been enjoying Eve Torres as of late, as far as my favorite diva is concerned, really, so that's who I'm going to go with there. What is your dream match, and who do you want to see in it the most?
Oh, dream match, if it's got to be a dream, it's got to be Macho Man, Randy Savage, and HBK Shawn Michaels.
Awesome. Yeah, there's so many matches I would like to see, but, with this one, I will name this one for one as of right now, and I'll probably might do a video on this one, so definitely stay tuned for that. So I think that would be cool for a future video. With this one, it's basically a triple threat, and hopefully I think it would be cool to resurrect the Cruiserweight Championship, and with this one, of course, having Sin Cara against Rey Mysterio and Hunico, I think this would be a really good match between all these guys, and really a good fast-paced back-and-forth match, and I think that would be really sick there to see that
that
type
would
of
be
match.
Crazy.
Yeah, so that's actually one of my dream matches at this point, so I might do a video on that one and explain some more dream matches that I would like to see. And that's basically all the questions. I want to thank each and every one of you guys who were able to send a question for this week's episode. And is there anything else that you would like to give final thoughts on or add to what we talked about today?
No, I think that the questions were good. We had some good questions and good answers. Good talk with you. Thank you so much for Minor Project for having me on. It was awesome. We'll have to do it again.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to thank again for you guys to send the questions that you did. And I will leave the link down below for those of you who are able to send them. And hopefully we'll get to do this again. And as well, with fan interaction, probably have episode number 3, maybe next month or the month after, depending on what's going to happen with that. So I really enjoyed this, and let's see if we can do this again. And that about does it for this week's episode for In the Hot Seat. Be sure to leave a like, and as well feel free to leave a video response, whichever you feel like doing. And Of course, comment down below on what we talked about. Until then, that about does it for this week's episode for In the Hot Seat. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Until then, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.